Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Boy, Sheikh, that's a new one. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulihil Kareem. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'd. My respected brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, I've been asked to come here today and speak to you about some of the challenges that are facing our young people in this very confusing and complex world. I'm going to have to pick this up, I think. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Seems pretty short. Well, this topic of our young people is something that, inshallah, I feel like I know a lot about because in one way or another, I've been working with young people for about 20 years now. In fact, just yesterday, I was playing sports with a bunch of young people, and then pow, I get elbowed in the eye. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I have to give a speech tomorrow in front of 2,000 people, and I look like somebody beat me up. But Muslims of the past have suffered far worse and done much, much more. So forward, I say, and let's do our best, inshallah. So, with that said and done, I feel that it's my privilege today to come and share some things with you, some thoughts, some observations, some stories that inshallah will bring to the forefront the issue of how best we can understand the world that our youth are living in and perhaps how to prepare them better for the challenges they face. First, I'm going to describe where this whole youth culture phenomenon came from that we talk so much about. Then I'm going to go over some of the features of modern day teenage life. Then I'll briefly mention some of the different types of responses that Muslim parents have had to these situations. And if there's time, I'll be exploring how we can make Islam more relevant for our young people and for ourselves, inshallah. So, to begin, what's it like to be a teenage boy or girl in the modern world? Well, to be frank, there's an awful lot of teenage issues that have never changed from the time when we were young. Whether we grew up in this country or in another country, somewhere far away, all of us felt at some point in our lives, my parents just don't understand. So, why is this a common theme among young people in all places and in all times? Quite simply, and this is where we need to really understand this, especially when we have kids of our own and they're growing up, it's natural. It's a natural progression for any child to want to slowly separate from the authority of their parents as they get older. In preparation for what? Being an adult on their own one day. Of course, the natural inclination of parents is to cling ever so tighter to that beautiful little baby of theirs who's insistent upon growing up and slipping away. So, in effect, parents really don't understand that their tight hold on power is increasingly unwanted. But on the flip side, of course, many young people have no understanding of how much love and sacrifice their parents make for them. This two-way tension is, strangely enough, quite normal, even though it's the cause of a lot of worry, apprehension, and heartache generation after generation. What is not normal, however, is the separate youth culture that began to develop first here in the Western world about 100 years ago. I say separate culture because the world of kids and teenagers has now become a world all unto its own. Before 100 years ago, children had no separate culture. Nothing that was unique that you could say, okay, this is what the kids are following. A few very rich families could indulge their children and give them an easy life, but the overwhelming majority of people could not. Most children worked hard for the family and were content to dream of the day when they could first work besides their parents as equals and then one day strike out on their own. Their parents were their role models, and their grandparents were their sources of wisdom. But ever since the start of the modern industrial era, the expansion of wealth and the dislocation of many social structures has allowed ordinary families to create a separate existence in which children are pampered and given a fun world of make-believe. The only rude interruption, of course, is the ring of the school bell. But what started out as a cute way to indulge our little children has, as we shall see, transformed into something else entirely. Although youth culture has gone through many phases of development, an actual separate teenage identity did not come about until the mid-1950s with the introduction of rock music. This new musical genre differed from the big band music of the adult world in that it spoke to the hopes and the dreams and the frustrations of a generation that was steeped in materialism and idleness. The loud and fast tones of this musical style also gave the overindulged and underworked youth an identity which they could rally around. Though 60 years have followed, teenage culture, as embodied by its unique fashions, rituals, code words, and music, has transformed fluidly and gone hand in hand with the general decline in morals and family values. As each generation of teenagers grew up and had less and less respect for traditional family values, more social problems arose, like teen pregnancy, rising drug use, and broken homes and other sad things. The things we talk about and that we worry about, you can see where teenage culture is rising, those things are also rising. In fact, it's gotten so bad that most children in this country today are now born out of wedlock. And more people live in poverty because of it. And yet, the drumbeat of youth liberation moves on. So where are we today? What are the main features of teenage life? And what are our Muslim youth being attracted towards? What are they being, told this is what you need to do? I ask this question because there has been another transformation in modern youth culture recently that's come on very quickly, and we are right in the middle of it as we speak. I don't know about you, but how many of you feel like from 5 years ago to now, the world has completely changed upside down? Like, oh my goodness. It's moving so fast and is so fluid that today's adults are clueless and helpless as they try to play catch-up. And this new youth culture is based on what? On what? The availability of ubiquitous, high-speed technology. My friends, this modern age truly is a time full of perils and pitfalls, unlike any other in human history. Now, I fully recognize that every previous generation has said the same thing. Oh, the sky is falling. Oh, everything is really bad. It's never been like this before. But the unique challenges that our young people face today are quite startling on many levels, and no other society in history has had to deal with them. Think about this for a minute, and this is going to give you a sense of your children, your teenagers, what kind of world they're growing up in. None of us who are over 35 years of age grew up tied to a computer screen that brought us everything in the world with the click of a mouse. None of us, when we were young, were ever plugged into an iPod, listening to hours and hours of music throughout the night and day, so much so that we became addicted to it and couldn't survive without it. If we wanted to listen to music on the go in the old days, we had to carry these giant radio boom boxes. Anyone remember those? Anybody? Yeah, a few? All right. I'll tell you what, it got tiring after a while and your shoulder would hurt, so you'd put it aside. And if we were more adventurous, we'd save our pennies and we'd buy one of those little Sony Walkman cassette players. Anyone remember those? little Sony Walkman cassette players, all right? And we put on those weird headphones with the fuzzies, the little foam thing. Boy, that looked really dorky, didn't it? That's probably why they changed the iPod style. Those little things you put in your ear, you can't even see it. But the problem with those little Walkmans, it was constantly eating our tapes. So you were taking a chance every time you pop a cassette player in the player, a tape. You're going to lose that $10 cost that you had to get the cassette tape. But these days, kids have little tiny music players with names like Tick and Flea and Nano and all these little things. You can't even see them. And you got these little buds in their ear for hours and hours every day now because it's so easy. Now, a little music may soothe the soul every now and again, that's what they say, but endless music, music without end, is going to drown your soul. I kid you not. I work in a public school. For my students, their iPod is like crack cocaine. If it's out of their ear, even for a second, they're like this. You can't even move. And every time you turn around, you see them off in the corner like this, hoping that you don't notice. But then, they have that cord. It's like the necklace of the modern world, right? The iPod cord. You see them everywhere. Well, none of us over 35 grew up with that. Also, none of us were ever tethered to a portable phone. These little things here that we all have now. We can't survive without them, can we? But remember how it was in the old days? You could be lost. You could be incommunicado. You could be completely separated from the world. Nobody knows where you're at. Now, wherever you're at, okay, yes? Assalamu alaikum? Not the same way anymore. Many teens today, I was reading about this the other day, they now sleep with their phones under their pillows because they're afraid to miss that next juicy text message. They don't want to be out of the loop for a second. Doctors today describe this as a very common disorder affecting hundreds of thousands of teenagers, especially girls. The article that I read said basically that the problem is this: there's so much gossip going around now and everybody's texting on everybody else that they're afraid if they don't catch that text, if they don't get that message from whoever, that they will be out of the loop and will become the victim of the gossip themselves. Strange, isn't it? None of us who are over 35 years of age had satellite dishes with 5,000 channels. Well, you never need to get off your couch, do you? None of us ever had satellite radios with 20,000 channels. We only have 2 ears. We need 20,000 channels? None of us had instantaneous, high-speed internet hookups that could bring us every form of entertainment known to man in just a few seconds. You want to know anything, you want to see anything. Click, click, type, click. Oh, there it is. We didn't have this. In those days, and it's not too long ago, we got by watching regular television, 10-year-old reruns. To find out what music was popular, Saturday mornings, we would spend with Casey Kasem and his Top 40 show to see what songs were popular. And none of us over 35 years old ever made friends on a computer screen with people we've never even met. None of us ever heard of speed dating, online personals, matrimonial websites, or, the worst, hooking up. And I'm sure most of you know what that is. We used to meet people face to face, and we had to carry on friendships with real human interactions. And let me tell you, although they did have Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and Tron, and a few others back in our day, we didn't have video games back then that were so immersive that we played them for 5 hours a day, 10 hours a day, all day, till 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, you might have heard about this. People are actually marrying video game characters. Have you heard of this? Go check it out. Go check. Where? On Google, of course, right? People are actually marrying manga characters printed on pillows. I'm not making this up. They cannot tell fantasy from reality. This reminds me, though, that before the computer revolution of the 1990s, do you remember how life was before we all had computers in our houses? We actually, remember we used to read what? What are these called? Books. Yes, we used to read books. And if you wanted to know anything, you'd have to go to a bookstore or a library, in your school or in your town. Maybe you'd have to actually talk to somebody and learn something new. And they got their information from books. Today's teens are being pushed away from reading. I've been teaching private school, public school, Islamic school, non-Islamic school for almost 20 years now. I've been a teacher a long time. I began teaching pre-internet. Allahu Akbar, I feel like a fossil. All right? Pre-internet. And I can tell you, in that time, the numbers of students who actually are able to read and understand what they're reading and make sense of it has declined precipitously to the point where today, me and my fellow teachers over in Queens, New York, I've worked in 2 public schools now. I prefer Islamic schools, but I need the health benefits. So next fundraising dinner at your Islamic schools, please donate more so the teachers can teach. All right? But me and my fellow teachers, who are all like, around 30-ish or so, 25, 35, 45, we all say the same things to each other. When the subject comes up of, okay, what book are you going to use? We all laugh. A book? You're going to use a book? Because our students don't read. They don't read. The most they'll read is like a snippet, a paragraph on some website. And even they won't understand most of them because they're not used to reading anymore. Too much stimulation, too many lights, too many colors. So now they say there's going to be a revolution in reading and that we shouldn't worry for our young people. Even though today the bookstores are going out of business, it's the Kindles and the e-readers and the iPads that will carry forward our literature, our civilization, our history to a new generation. My brothers and sisters, I wonder though, how attached a person can get to a book basically being read on a glorified calculator screen with dancing icons at the bottom constantly saying, don't read more than a paragraph. Reading is hard. Reading is boring. Click this button and surf the internet instead. In short, my brothers and sisters, today, young people, regardless of religion or lack of it, are suffering from the extremes of overstimulation. And our attention spans, all of us, are getting shorter and shorter and shorter by the minute. Video images, heart-pounding games, music without end, and self-destructive, aimless behavior defines the life now of a significant number of young people in the modern world. Those who are not completely sucked into it yet are under constant peer pressure to fall in. So my brothers and sisters, throughout the course of this conference, when you're hearing different sessions about family and about children and about what we can do about it, just keep in mind that the world of our teenagers today is vastly different from what we ourselves experienced. It's going to require a lot of understanding, a lot of forethought, and a lot of protection on the part of the parents, protecting our kids from the worst of this. We have no choice, as one brother told me. We have no choice. This is the world that they're growing up in. They're going to be working with these things. They're going to be using their phones, their computers, everything else. So this is their world. But, and this is what the brother told me, and I was like, yes, you're right. He said that doesn't mean we have to surrender to the worst of it. Whatever technology is there, if it's useful for our lives, If it's useful for our deen, okay, use in moderation. But never surrender your parental obligation to protect your little one, protect your teenager, protect your young adult from getting sucked into things that are beyond their control and beyond our understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all of us aware of our duty to our children and help us to have the wisdom and the strength to know what to do in these very strange and complex modern times. Thank you very much. Wa akhir da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum.